Hey there. So we know that there is always I cut myself shaving. Ugh. We know that there is a back and forth, between the grace community and those who disagree with us. And we think, oh, there's this big war going on or this harvest, and there's such a distinction. Well, what I've seen more and more is that it's really not the channels hosting the content. We wouldn't really have anything to do with each other that much. It's the people that go back and forth between with the intention of stirring up strife and pretending to be peacemakers often, but really their intention is to come and bait you to get you to say something so that they can go back to the other channels. And I've even seen people with multiple accounts that are obviously pseudonyms going and articulating different parts of the debate to stir up the strife more. And from what I've watched for the last month and a half, I believe that there are a few actual trained witches that are sowing strife among the grace channels. Now, there are teachings that need to be corrected, and that's what I do, but I don't call people out by name. Typically, I haven't. Paul did mention the names when he had a pastoral letter to Timothy, and he said, Alexander and Hymenaeus, they are teaching, their teaching must be stopped, their mouths must be stopped because they're overturning households, and some are misaimed from God's economy and desire to be teachers of the law, and they're going after Jewish fables and myths, and all of this thing is damaging. So you do have to contend for the faith. And if I know someone, I will correct personally, and then openly if there's a teaching that's just so often it's creating, so that did happen. But then when the person doesn't take the correction and gets angry and offended and digs in their heels, then it starts to become an issue. But still, it's not really, it wouldn't continue to be an issue if it weren't for the people going back and forth. And Jack Smack did a video. I don't know what you think of him. He's very strong. He uses kind of like a very abrasive style. The way Jesus did with Pharisees, or Paul, you can see through the book of Acts, Paul rebuking people to their face. God, the prophet Isaiah was right. Your hearts are blinded, and all the different things he said to people, and Jesus calling them vipers and calling them hypocrites and whitewashed tombs, They did that because of the hardness of the hearts they were dealing with, but also those were Elijah moments where those who were listening needed to be clear. Who is the Lord, and on what ground are you going to stand? Make it clear. Sometimes it has to be like that. So anyway, the ones that are going back and forth between the channels are pretending to be really nice, but they're baiting you, taking what you say, then you see them on another channel and they're twisting their words, right? And Jack Smack, back to Jack, he did a video where he uses his abrasive style. Okay, so some people don't like that, but I think he's doing what he's doing. And whatever you think of that, he did a video where he said, look, if I see you going back and forth on different channels and are vacillating, and you seem to be of one group, you seem to agree with the grace people when you're with grace, but then you're under the law people and you're agreeing with them, I will block you from my channel. Choose you this day who you will serve. And it sounded really strong, but I'm wondering if he's dealing with the same kind of thing I'm seeing, where people are literally pretending, in some cases literally pretending to be different people, by having multiple pseudonym accounts and articulating different sides of the debate to stir it up and keep it going. And I've had people come over to my channel who are clearly trying to stir up strife. I've already seen them on the other channels. I know that they're stirring up strife. And that's where the contention is really springing from. It's not the channels themselves, it's the people in the middle that keep going on and on. And it does grieve me to see, like, my subscribers who are on another channel that has a totally diametrically opposed view of grace than what I teach, and they're saying amen to both. Now, in many cases, I think it's naivety, but sometimes it makes you think, should there be a clear line? Should I say I'm going to block you if I see you on both and you're not, and if you're this confused that there's got to be something wrong. Well, I don't feel called to do that, but I'll tell you this. If I see you on another channel articulating a view that's against grace or pretending to be somebody other than what you are, I'll have to block you now. So a lot of these people, some of them pretended to be listening to my messages and subscribers, enjoying my ministry, and oh so blessed, and they did it for weeks and weeks and weeks just to get me to warm up so that then they could start sending me emails and engage me in a dialogue, and then use that dialogue and go back to another channel, and they're a totally different person on the other channel. I mean, in terms of what they articulate and what they believe. This is witchcraft. Whether they're knowing witches or not, I believe in some cases there's actual real witches who don't believe anything but are able to articulate every point of view and use it to turn people against each other. So I just want you guys to know that that's going on. And yeah, I have some strong words for people to come over to my channel and are trying to do that, pretending to be sanctimonious. You know, if I see you on another channel and you're saying, you know, people are rebellious and because they don't keep the law, and you're articulating a stand against the grace of God and against the teaching we've received, and then you come over to me and try to sanctimoniously say I need to be nice and stop, you know, and what I'm doing is gossip when I just expose these teachings, well, you're a hypocrite. You are pretending to be something you're not. So I called this lady a hypocrite. You know, that was a pretty strong word. Do I want to do that kind of stuff? No, not usually. Is it distasteful? Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes this stuff just has to be called out, you know. There's no way to win in that situation anyway. They're baiting you. They're gonna take whatever you say and twist it and go and do whatever they do. Watch for people that are on multiple walls taking different positions, and especially watch if you see them on my channel and they seem to be really nice, but then they're on another channel that totally disagrees with me and they seem to be really nice. I would say keep your guard up. There is a lot of tares that have been sown among the wheat. That's all they call it. And they're false believers crept in unaware. That's how Paul called it. And I used to think that meant they just were deceived and they didn't know they weren't believers, and so they're just confused. No, he literally meant that Satan sends in agents clothed as ministers of righteousness, pretending to be. And we know the Jesuits did that. The whole point of a Jesuit is that they can go and stand in the pulpit of a Calvinist and preach like a Calvinist, and then go be in a charismatic church and preach like a charismatic and preach grace and preach. They were to subvert whole churches by pretending to agree with their doctrine and articulate it, and then start inserting subtle leaven in. And so if they can do it, that's being done. That's a satanic ploy. He dresses himself up and he dresses his ministers up. But you can see that they are not righteous because they go from channel to channel trying to stir up debate and trying to stir up strife. Now, that's not really what I'm doing. I am just teaching the same things I've always taught. You will not find some marked turn in my ministry where suddenly I started coming out against something or anything inconsistent with what I've taught all along. It's not my fault that there are people, like if the shoe fits, you got to wear it. If it quacks like a duck, you're probably a duck. And if I'm talking about ducks and you're a duck, well, coincidence, you know. But I also sometimes know about who I'm talking about. But my intention is not to hurt someone. I'm hoping, that's why I don't mention their name. It's the hope that they will repent. But with all the people going back and forth, I field comments all day on my wall from people who are clearly straddling the fence and pretending to be on both sides. And that is really what stirs up the confusion. And these people go and they go to grace channels and pretend to be grace people and get grace, and then start saying, hey, did you know Dave Benjamin said this, or did you know this and that, and this, whispering in their ears. And then before you know it, I've got grace people coming and attacking me and going, what do you do? You know, it's like, okay, you haven't been listening to my videos because you think I'm saying something that I'm not. Where did you get that? Oh, well, it's probably one of these whisperers going around, stirring up. This is very malicious stuff. But greater is he that is in me than he who's in the world. And shuts the mouth of the lion. All I can do is stand in faith and keep teaching what I've always taught. And I know that there's going to be various kinds of reactions to it. Some are going to be freed by it. Some aren't going to see it because they're babes and it's hard for them to understand, and they're probably going to resist for now, but maybe later they'll understand. And then others are just going to harden their hearts and backload works and eventually speak against the grace. So all I can do is keep teaching as doctrinally as possible from the Word, so that you can't say anything about my teaching without saying something about the Word itself. So that's my only defense, is to keep clothing myself in the armor of light and using the weapons of our warfare, which are not carnal, but mighty to God, to the pulling down of strongholds, right? And casting down lofty imaginations that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. And the knowledge of God is Jesus Christ in me. If your teaching does not bring me to Jesus Christ in me as the source of every good thing, then you are working with wood, hay, and stubble, or you're preaching a false, accursed gospel, and it's going to fall under that condemnation. I'm not talking about you specifically, but if I'm talking about that kind of teaching, yeah, that umbrella you'll fit under it. But I'm not just addressing one person. There's millions of people out there teaching all kinds of stuff. And my job is to keep teaching what I believe God has shown me from the Word. All right, take care.